my gosh, I'm nervous. I haven't done an intro in months. I haven't recorded anything in a while. Well, traditionary cheers. What is up, you guys? I'm Alicia.
I'm Savannah.
And this is Girl Talk. In today's episode of Girl Talk, we are going to be talking about parenthood. More specifically for us, we'll talk a lot about motherhood because we are women and we are mothers. However, it is not just for mothers. I have a 21-month-old son.
I'm a stepmom. My stepdaughter's 6. She's going to be 7 in November.
They kind of had a rough patch, I think, when they first met. Also, I don't think Talia was really used to being around kids in like your side of the family too much.
To have to be around a baby, and she has been the only baby through all stages of life. She was like, get away from me.
But now they love each other. They get along really great. They have a really good friendship, which I love. I thought this would be a good topic for us to discuss, with me being a stay-at-home mom, Savannah being a working stepmom. We kind of bring a lot of different dynamics to the table, which is also why we really enjoy doing these Girl Talk episodes, because even though we have a lot of similarities, we do have a lot of differences.
Very true.
You know, I think that's really cool and unique to bring to the table.
Yeah, it's definitely beneficial. Have like a variety.
Absolutely. To begin, I want to talk about one of the most challenging things I face being a stay-at-home mom with Asher. I think patience is one of the biggest things that I personally struggle with, being home with him all day, every day, or even when I take him out somewhere, like I'm still with him. I am very grateful and fortunate that I do have a great support system. Savannah has offered to babysit plenty of times. My mom sits Asher. We have family members that are very involved in his life. But for me, being a stay-at-home mom, it's really hard for me to grasp the help, since I'm like, I stay at home anyways, like I'm gonna watch him. So I feel like maybe I put a little bit on myself, but to kind of circle back, patience is the biggest thing I struggle with. Being home with him all day, it's really easy to get frustrated or flustered and lose my patience, especially when it's 5 p.m. and I've been up since 6 a.m. and it's the 20th spill of the day and I'm just like, dude, come on, like, are you serious? But my husband, Jacob, is a very, very patient person. And I think before having a child, he's helped me work on my patience a lot, which is one of the things that we kind of touched on our marriage episode of Girl Talk. But having him help me with my patience, I think, has really helped me be more patient with my child. I feel like your kid, as they get older too, they just know and learn how to like push your buttons. And even when they don't really know that they're pushing your buttons, because they're just trying to figure things out and they make a mistake. But for us, it's like, it's just so easy. Like, we know how to pour milk. So when he spills that milk, it's just like, bro, really? I have to clean up another mess? But definitely, you know, seeking help from family members and Jacob picking up on my cues of, hey, I can see that you're getting a little flustered. Why don't you go take a moment in the room or go take a shower, cool off, like, I got this. Or I'll go take him to the grocery store so you get, like, time to yourself. Right. And I think that's really important.
Little kids like Asher, they have no concept of the world not revolving around them. So like they don't have any like consideration of their parents' needs. And so it's like, well, why wouldn't you want to play with me and interact with me 24/7? Why do you have to clean? Why do you have to have personal time? Why do you have to have personal space? Like, you can't even go to the bathroom and close the door without like little fingers coming under the door, you know? So
or
it's just like
the doorknob rattling. Mom!
My biggest struggle about being a step parent is probably just that it's really hard to find the role that you'll play, because when you become like a mom through adoption or through childbirth, through pregnancy, it's like that's your child and you're a mother, and whether you choose to be involved in that child's life, that's your own decision. But the responsibility is yours. Nobody else is his mother. So when you're becoming a step parent, I feel like each situation is unique. It depends how involved your partner is in their child's life. For me personally, my husband has always had his daughter 50-50 with her mom. physical custody, so he has her half the time. So they used to split the week, and now they do every other week. Since we've been together, I've spent a ton of time with her. But it's hard finding your place because you can't not be a parent, but then you're also not her parent. So it's like if we were to ever split up, God forbid, like we have no intention to, but I have no rights to her.
Yeah.
Like I
Absolutely.
would probably never see her again, and if I do, it would be like in passing or like running into her. And so that's really hard to open yourself up to a child like that. Because like I have nieces and nephews and I like love them. I adore children, but getting to know someone who you're in a relationship, their child, is like, it's just very scary. It adds a whole nother dynamic to the relationship. And so I think the most challenging part was figuring out like where I fit into that.
Yeah,
it took a lot of years.
My mom met her now husband when I was 10 years old. And immediately, for me, I didn't like him. And for me, at being 10 years old, I never understood why I didn't like him. I just knew I didn't like him. When they got together, it was a shock for me. And maybe that's probably why I didn't like it, because as a kid, for me, I'm like, this is just a man that lives in our apartment complex. Like, why are you dating him now?
Yeah.
Now that I'm older, here I am, 25 years old, going on 26, I have a kid, and me and him have a great relationship now. He was there for my first heartbreak. He, you know, is a grandfather to Asher. Him and Jacob have a great relationship. Like, I genuinely love him as my father.
He's very present. He's very involved. He cares a lot.
Yes. Every memory I have of, like, my child in teen years has him involved in some way. I feel like as a step parent, it's very hard to find, like, your place and your role. And you know, you don't want to overstep your boundary, but obviously you have to make boundaries with a child. Right. You also don't want to make them feel like I'm trying to overstep and be your parent or replace your parent. So it's a very gray area. But I definitely say that step parents probably have one of the hardest jobs as parents. And it takes a big person to be a step parent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's unique to every situation. Like, your stepdad has always been involved in your life and really close to you, but your dad isn't present. And so then there's some people who are the opposite, where it's like the stepmom or whoever is dating a man who only has his kids every other weekend. And then it's like, how do you get close? How do you feel relevant in that kid's life? Like, they have their mom. They don't need you. Like, you know, they're not going to be around you all the time. And then there's someone dating someone who's 50-50. And so it's like, there's all sorts of different
There's so many different situations.
Roles, of being a step parent.
A lot. I feel like step parents have it really, really hard. We went to hell and back before we had the relationship that we have now.
Yeah, I feel like that's pretty normal.
And
it's
I feel like it's more normal than people talk about, having a bad relationship with your step parent before it actually gets good.
Yeah, well, I mean, the stereotype in all movies of the stepmom is she's an evil person. So, overcoming that, that's also
true.
a challenge.
Hollywood does play a role. There's not a lot of fun step-parent movies out there.
No, we have a bad rap. I know I feel like uncomfortable telling people, like, when I'm in public or when I'm meeting new people, like at Talia's school, and they say like something about your daughter, or they say something about like, go like ask your mom, or they tell her like ask mom, or like, you know, people assume. She usually doesn't say anything. In social settings, she's not very like outspoken, and so she knows to look to me. I've been in her life for a very long time, and she understands it's a misunderstanding, but like I will correct them, and I will say I'm her stepmom. And I always feel like
means something to her though too.
Yeah.
You know, to see that you're correcting it and not just going along with, oh yeah, that is my daughter.
Well, because coming into a child's life at such a young age, she was only a year and a half when her dad and I got together. We were together for, I think, like 5 months before I was introduced to her. And so she wasn't 2 yet, but when I was introduced to her, I was just a friend. I was just somebody who came around to spend time with them. I was, you know, we never showed affection. He never referred to me as his girlfriend. I was nothing more than one of Dad's friends when I came around, and it was like that for like probably at least a year. until we started like showing any intimacy in front of her, like just like holding hands or like a hug or anything like that. And she was always pretty wary of me. Coming into a child's life at such a young age, she's like just learning how to talk. She's just learning how to explore herself. Her entire life, she's known her parents apart too, which I feel like is hard. And so when she is only with her dad, she doesn't see her mom, and when she's with her mom, she doesn't see her dad. So then with me being around when her dad is around, it's like, okay, is this my mom while I'm at my dad's house?
It's confusing.
Right. And so she did explore that. I think there was like once or twice where she would say like mom, and then she'd be like, haha, I called you mom. And like you could tell she was like testing the waters. But I never encouraged that. Your parents' title, in my opinion, is reserved for them, especially when they're present. If your parents chose not to be present in your life, that's one thing. But when your parent clearly loves you and wants to be present in your life, I feel like it really undermines them if you would go along with that or encourage that, because ultimately you're not their parent. You're not their biological parent. You are a parent and you are special to them, but you have to earn it in a completely different way than their actual parents earn it. So I never encouraged that.
I feel like sometimes you can almost leave it up to the child too. When me and my dad started getting, or me and my stepdad started getting a good relationship, I kind of would entertain the idea of like, what would it be like if I called him dad? Should I call him dad? Like, I love him like a dad. He is kind of like my dad. He's present like a dad should be. He does everything for me that a dad should do. To this day, I call him by his name, but I do have Asher call him grandpa. Or more specifically, he calls him Pop, but he knows that's his grandpa. And when we get to that day of, you know, is that your daddy? No, this is what it is, but that still is your grandpa. Like, that's all you will ever know. He holds that place in my heart. He's gonna hold that place in your heart. And also, my stepdad and Asher have that grandparent-grandson relationship that I don't think Asher will ever question not wanting to call him Pa. To kind of shift gears a little bit, I actually posted on my Instagram that we were going to be doing this video. So one of the things that we got asked was how we have developed as women since becoming mothers, parents. I think for me, the biggest thing that I have done since becoming a mom, and that has really helped me essentially become a better person and a better mother, is I pay a lot of attention to my actions now. I fully believe in the phrase lead by example. My son, especially with me being a stay-at-home mom, sees everything I do. So if I want him to display healthy habits, I have to show him healthy habits. Although one of my most challenging things as a parent is my patience, I try really, really hard when I'm frustrated with him. I'll take a deep breath, and now I've even noticed he does deep breaths now. When he gets upset and he's crying and he's frustrated, he goes, so it's like, just seeing that gives me the okay, like, you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. I noticed before having Asher that I gossiped a lot. I was very caught up in my high school ways, I would say. Oh my God, did you hear that this person is doing this and doing that? Or, oh my God, there was a lot of family gossip, friend gossip, things that I would see on social media. And now I don't really care for that stuff. I've realized in a way like how toxic it is to spread gossip. Even though I didn't come up with the gossip, I may be spreading it. And I would never want Asher to see that and think that's the way we handle things. If you're going to be a good friend, you shouldn't be gossiping about your friend. That's my biggest thing that I'm talking about, gossiping, because that's a really big thing that I used to do before becoming a mom. And so I want him to see, you know, we don't gossip because that's not nice, it's not fair, and we want to be a good person and a good friend. You want someone to come to you in confidence and not have to worry about it getting out. And so that's one thing that I feel like I've really rediscovered as a mom and as a woman, is just changing toxic habits. Also, a big thing is the way I handle my frustration. Growing up in a Mexican household, it was a lot of do as I say, not as I do. You better listen to me, and if you don't listen to me, okay, you're gonna go to the room by yourself or be disciplined.
Yeah.
Which for me, I mean, it worked for me and I turned out fine, and so I'm not trying to say that that's not how you should parent, or if there's parents that do that, but for me personally,
it's not your style.
It's not my style. For example, yesterday, he was climbing on his learning tower playing with the coffee maker. It eventually fell over because he knocked it over and it broke.
Oh no.
And so I wanted to yell at him so bad, and I just like took a moment and I looked at him and I said, Asher, I told you not to do that. I'm going to need you to get down, and I'm going to need you to go to your room and just sit there for a moment because mom needs some space right now. I didn't close the door on him. I didn't yell at him. I walked him to his room. He sat down and I said, I just need you to stay here for a minute. And he did. He didn't cry, surprisingly. He didn't, have a meltdown. He stayed in there while I cleaned the whole thing up. And then I went to go talk to him about it, and I was like, look, you hurt mom's feelings. I asked you a lot of times not to do that.
Yeah.
You broke it. And he goes, broke. And I could tell he felt bad.
Yeah. For me, it's probably along the similar lines, is just really, once you realize it's monkey see, monkey do, and anything you do, they can see and they can hear, and they
will copy.
They comprehend way more than you would think that they do, and you really can't act any way in front of them that you wouldn't be okay with them acting in public.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of feel bad for Talia because she's like my test child. Like I'm figuring out how to be a parent while she's growing up.
Yeah.
And so I've made a lot of mistakes, and I had this huge pressure on me, like, I don't want to ruin this child.
Yeah.
Like, you have so much impact on children that you're involved with, regardless of if you're their parent or not. If you spend a lot of time with them, you have a huge influence on them. And I did not want to cause her any trauma.
Yeah.
And my parents did not parent in healthy, constructive ways. They didn't give me any tools on how to be a good, healthy parent. And so I kind of had to figure it out on my own as I started to be more of a parent role in her life. And it was really scary. And so I changed a lot. Like, you have to be more responsible. You have to think about your decisions before you make them. And if you decide something and they ask you why, you have to explain it. Like, you can't just say, because I said so.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being a kid and hearing that and being so angry.
Frustrated. Yes.
Like, how dare you tell me what to do or tell me not to do something and not explain yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a person, I'm a human being. But a lot of people don't really treat kids like that, and I never wanted to be that way.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
unless you have a good reason for what you're saying to them, like, you got to think about it critically. And, like, if they ask you why, like, you have to explain. And sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation. Sometimes it's a hard conversation. But, like, it's worth having. And it's a lot of effort. And I feel like I've changed a lot.
A lot of people say, as a parent, I'm the parent. I make the decisions. I, do everything. And to a certain extent, yes, that's true.
Right.
The parents are going to decide if you're going to move schools, if you're going to move houses. They're going to pay the bill, so they decide if you get an iPad or certain things, yes.
Or if you play sports, or if you can go to your friend's house, or what you do all day. Like, ultimately, they have that sort of authority.
But I also feel like with children, growing up in a household, you are supposed to teach them family, a family unit.
Right.
So if you stress to them, we're a family, we do things together, we live in this household, we're a team, how do you expect them to feel that you guys are a team if you just make all the decisions without letting them know? And I know a lot of parents may disagree, and that's okay to explain things, and that's why, as a parent, you have that decision and you have that authority to parent the way you desire.
Right.
But personally, my style is the same. I would rather explain something to Asher. I feel like it's a lot easier transition with anything.
Yeah.
Disciplining them, big changes, just as long as they're in the loop of things, they feel included, they feel important.
And you give them the opportunity to grow with the idea. Like, telling a child something that you think is going to be awful and impactful to them at a young age, there's a more delicate way to tell them so that they can grow with that idea instead of finding out when they're a teenager or an adult and they feel like they've been lied to them their entire lives, and then they have to process that trauma as an adult with bigger feelings and bigger emotions.
With me being a stay-at-home mom, it's very easy to fall into everyday life of sometimes not doing my hair, sometimes not doing my makeup, and I'm not going anywhere anyways. I'm just staying home with my kid all day. Yeah, I don't need to impress him. He loves me for the way I am.
Right.
So I've noticed for me, things that make me feel good is going to get my nails done. I may not have my hair done that day or may not have my makeup done that day, but if my nails are done and I get dressed, that's an automatic, immediate confidence boost for me, and I feel good.
Yeah.
So just finding things that internally make me feel good.
Yeah.
Whether something new that I want to try is I want to try Pilates soon. So
cool.
that's something for me that I'm doing, that Jacob has encouraged I do, that for me, like, is something that I want to do for myself. Getting my nails done, it has become like a girl thing that I do every month with my mom, and we recently started taking my little sister Elisa.
Aww.
Yeah. So just finding things that internally make me happy away from motherhood. I feel like as moms, that's what we need to do is, you know, have that one thing, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, just something that we
daily.
do. Yeah, or
you
even daily. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Once you become a parent, it's hard for your days not to revolve around the child's needs. And so when you get into a routine with having your child and it's based off of keeping them stimulated and keeping them engaged and making sure they're having fun, and you want to tire them out so that they're actually tired when it's time for bed. And so it's easy to get caught up in that and then kind of lose intimacy with your partner and then lose prioritizing your own needs. And so, I mean, personally for us, like, we were really having a hard time finding our routine. Our first year of marriage, on top of the pandemic, and we were going through so many changes and we were having a lot of trouble, like, getting into the swing of things with our new life. And so we went to a marriage and family therapist, and she has given us so many tools to help build our relationship. But then also she's, like, given us the permission of, like, you need to prioritize this time for yourself. Like, take care of yourself, communicate your needs. And, like, if you say you have a need, like, your partner should be working with you to make sure those needs are met. Which is, like, when you said, like, Jacob isn't, like, encouraging you to do those things that make you feel good. Like, that's so healthy and that's so awesome. Absolutely. And it's definitely a huge priority, like, taking care of yourself while you're a parent.
Moving on to something a little bit different. If you've been following me for a while, and especially if you follow me on Instagram, you may have noticed that I personally don't post Asher on social media. You may see the back of his head, you may hear his voice, you may see things around him, but I don't post his face. When I got pregnant, I didn't post about it at all. I kept it super, super private. Social media for me has always been an outlet to be influenced by people that I find interesting.
Or, like, relatable.
Yes. Since I've started this new journey of trying to do the same for people as far as being a mother, being a woman, or just being a person that you might have similar interests with me, I've obviously had to include Asher. I knew when I had children that I did not want them blasted all over social media. For some parents, that's what they do, and I'm not judging, and that's totally okay. But for me personally, that's always been a personal choice for me and my husband. I got a lot of comments from family members and not personal close friends, but I guess more distant friends. For me, it's never been weird because that's always been my decision.
Yeah.
I want to keep his life private. For my husband, he just doesn't like social media. He likes his privacy. He doesn't care for social media. That's just not his thing.
But it's, like, outside of the norm. Like, typically, like, everybody posts when they're pregnant, and, like, then right after the baby's born, and then, like, your baby becomes your life. So, like, when people become parents, it's more typical to post them all over social media. So I feel like that's why people were so curious about, like, yours, like, being, like, more private.
Yeah. When I got pregnant, I really didn't know how how much I wanted to share, how much I was comfortable with. I really never explored that option, or never really explored that part of my life. I didn't know how to really navigate that part of my life. So I just stayed off social media altogether. And if you've been around since the beginning of my channel, I have talked about me wanting to start YouTube for years. So when I finally started YouTube, obviously I knew that Asher was going to have to be a part of that. He was going to have to be a part of my social media presence in a way, because me being a stay-at-home mom, he is 90% of my life.
Yeah.
And I can't not post about my life. I can't post about me being a mother if he's not included in some way. Mm-hmm. So me and my husband found what made us comfortable. So I'll talk about things that I'm going through with him. I'll talk about his likes and his dislikes, but I also want to respect his privacy. And even though he's only not even 2 years old yet, I still feel like he's entitled to his privacy. Before I started, posting a lot more and sharing my life on Instagram, you were talking to somebody, outside of like my life, and a comment they made to you asking if I was embarrassed by him, or if he was a secret.
Yeah.
And I think for me that was a huge turning point, because obviously that's my child. I love him. Like, I'm not embarrassed by him. He's not a secret at all.
Yeah.
So starting this new journey of sharing more of my life, it's like, okay, I'm going to put him a little more out there without putting him all out there.
Yeah.
When I became pregnant with him, immediately we told all of our family members, don't post about it, don't talk about it. My baby shower was not necessarily a secret, but everything was just kept privately
and intimate.
Intimately. I have footage of all that time during my life, but I never had the courage to, I guess, like, come out there and fully share it.
Yeah.
So if that's something you would like to see, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll gladly share that stuff with you. But now that I've started on this journey, when I do have my second child, obviously it'll be shared when I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
My pregnancy and my whole journey and things like that.
You don't have the child yet, you're not pregnant yet, so you can't know what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, every step of the way, you're gonna have a conversation with Jacob and be like, this is how I'm feeling, and he's gonna be like, this is how I'm feeling, and then you guys are gonna decide together what's best for you, And like, what you're planning now might not be how you feel when you're pregnant, So I feel like it'll just like kind of all come naturally once it's happening.
For me, I'm choosing to share my life on social media, and I'm choosing to put myself out there and share my struggles or share things that I'm going through. But for him, being so young, he doesn't have that voice yet.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, I've always said when he's old enough to decide, which will probably be sometime around middle school, because that's when I started getting into social media, he can decide for himself. But I don't want him to grow up and be like, Mom, why is my whole entire life for all of these random people to know? I don't know what he's going to feel like. And when he's older and he decides, I want my childhood photo online, by all means, go ahead, put your childhood photo online. And I do want to emphasize, if you are a parent that decides to share your child on social media, by all means, this is not me judging you in any way, shape, or form. Savannah decides to share Talia every now and then on social media. That's just what makes me and my husband comfortable. And I think for Jake not being on social media, he would be like, if I'm not on social media, why would you put our child on social media?
Right.
So I've respected that. And he's respected me that I'm a stay-at-home mom and I'm deciding to share my journey of my life, and he is a part of my life. So we've kind of compromised. Let's just keep his face and more intimate things of his life a little bit more private. And that's just what works for us. Every parent's different.
I feel like back then social media was a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
And social media was a tool back then used to share stuff with your friends and family, like close friends and family. So it's like, of course the family wants to see how the baby's doing, and they want to see, the baby eating their first food, and they want to see the baby crawling, and you're just sharing that with your friends and family. Then when Nick and I started dating, both of her parents, my stepdaughter's parents, had already been showing her on social media. They showed the pregnancy after she was born, and then they would share pictures and videos of her on social media. So once I started being like close to her, I think the first picture I showed of her on social media was after we had been together like almost 2 years. And I just felt close enough, like I was an intimate part enough of their family and their friends, and those were the people who were following me or who had friended me on social media, and so I was just sharing, you know, our life. The discussion came about social media and sharing her and how times were changing and you don't really know who's following you anymore. And so me and Nick had a conversation about making my profiles private because they had never been private before. As she's gotten older and social media has like evolved and changed, her dad and I are less active on social media, and so we share her less naturally because we're not really on there. And we spend quality time with our friends and family, and so like if anybody wants a picture or a video or anything, like they can just ask. And like usually if I'll take a great photo of Talia, because it's really hard to get her smiling like in a way that is like not like so it's like once I get a good photo or I get like a cute video, she's like, record me reading or something like that, you know, like I'll send that to close people. I feel like we've just kind of went with the times and how we were feeling and what was working for us at that time. My husband and I are trying to have a baby. When we do, I'm not sure how much we'll show them on social media. I don't know if it'll change or be any different than how we show Talia, but it might be because when Talia was born, social media was a lot different. And so, I mean, we're going to have to navigate that.
I'm also the type of person that special moments are hard to come by these days. I'm very big on the physical invitation, handing it to that person. When we found out we were pregnant, we told everybody in person. I did not want to text anyone and I didn't want to call anyone. Like I'm very big on special moments. Yes.
And intimacy.
In the family, Asher is the only one on both of our sides that isn't on social media. So we'll get a lot of comments from family like we feel like we don't know him or we don't know what he likes, we don't know what's going on. So for me, it's more personal if you come and hang out with him. You figure out.
It forces people to stop by and spend real time with him.
And for me, that means more to me if you come to our house or we meet up and go at a park and you hear him talking and you see him being him,
and you're spending
more
like,
than
time
you
with
see
him.
a 10-second clip online of what he has going on. I want to reserve the right of people in his everyday life knowing him compared to strangers.
Right.
So I would rather keep him privately and like keep him offline so that the people in his life truly know who Asher is compared to strangers online.
If you were to be sharing Asher on social media, like maybe that will make his grandparents, his aunts and uncles, or you know, distant family or friends feel like they know him. That doesn't make him feel like he knows them. And so like if they're coming here to spend time with him, like that's how you build that relationship. It's not through social media.
Absolutely. To kind of just wrap this whole video up, I want to talk about where we currently are. Asher right now is 21 months. He is going to be 2 at the end of October.
Crazy.
Yes, so crazy. So crazy. Oh my God. So he's in the phase right now that a lot of people would label as a terrible twos. I don't really like that label. A couple years ago, I read an article that basically said that we mislabel kids. And we mislabel kids, especially when they turn 2, as the terrible twos. We put that title as adults on that child. Because it's around this age that kids start to develop their own opinions and minds about certain things. He's in the stage right now where he wants to dress himself. He wants to pick out his own clothes. He wants to put on his shoes on his own. He wants to put his helmet on by himself. He wants to do everything on his own. And so as a parent, I've decided to let him do that. I can either sit here and say, oh my God, terrible twos, you're being annoying, like let me just do it for you. But as that article said, as a child, when you're constantly being told all day, I'm going to feed you because you're being too messy. I'm going to buckle you because you're not doing it fast enough. I'm going to dress you because you're putting your shirt on backwards. They're just constantly getting told all day. I'm going to do it for you.
You're not good enough. You can't do it. Let me do it.
So I think for me, this has also kind of tested my patience. Having the patience to just let him do it on his own, no matter how frustrating it is for me. Let him make the mess. But eventually, that mess isn't going to be made.
It's literally just like one day they wake up and know how to do something, and it's it's just they change so
Yeah.
quickly.
We also want to add another child into the mix within the next year, so I definitely think it's even more important to give him that independence.
For Talia, she's 6, almost 7, and so we're at a new stage every year she gets older, but I swear she gets cooler and cooler and more fun to be around as she gets older. Every year it's just gotten easier. Like, of course, when they're young, they're so cute and like it's so easy to like bond with them because they're drool and they're chubby cheeks and like they're just adorable, you know? They can put on their own shoes and they pick out their own outfits. And then they just start saying stuff where it's like so shocking because it's like they're getting older. And so they'll say stuff that's just like actually hilarious.
Yeah.
Like Talia has started using puns lately. And so it's like just the level of development that she's on is like, it's always impressive and it's like cool and like you feel proud because you're like, hey, you're funny and I'm your parent, you know? And so it's just like every year is better.
Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
she is very independent and she likes things like very organized and put together, and she's like pretty clean. Like she likes playing in the dirt, but like that's not like her go-to. Like she would prefer to like dance and sing and like change outfits, but she'll like clean up her own room. Like she'll like fully organize her own room and it like looks great in there, and like I like never clean her room. So that's where we're at. Oh, also, yeah, we're trying to have a baby, so yeah, and we've had
bringing
Talia,
new babies into the mix.
Yeah, hopefully we get pregnant at the same time. That's the goal.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, so that brings us to the end of the video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you got some tips or you just stumbled upon something that made you feel less alone.
Yeah.
And as always, if you have a topic that you would like us to talk about, leave it in the comments below, and we will see you next time. Bye. It's been a while.
Should we refill?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. We're getting like double dehydrated. Caffeine and alcohol.